Welcome to Hangö. This guided tour consists of 3 parts: Hangö past and present, the spa park and its wooden villas, and the House of the Four Winds. This tour has been funded by Västnyländska Kultursamfundet as an EU project. Hangö past and present. Hangö today is a charming small town of almost 10,000 inhabitants set in a magnificent natural landscape with over 30 kilometers of sandy beaches. Its history too is both dramatic and fascinating. Located on the outermost promontory in the Gulf of Finland, you could say it was born of the sea. As early as the 13th century, Hangö is mentioned as a convenient harbour. Passing the Hangö Peninsula was a challenge for seafarers, particularly in olden times, but the sound of Gäddtarmen, or Pike's Gut, to the southwest of the point, provided a protected natural harbour where one could wait for favourable winds. Today the sound is barely navigable, but the over 600 visible petroglyphs in the Pike's Gut cliffs provide a unique historical visitor's book. One finds carved there the coats of arms of many noble Finnish and Swedish families, and various homegrown and foreign names and pictures from the Middle Ages up to the 20th century. The long-standing President Urho Kekkonen's signature from 1967 can also be seen here, where the site was reopened following restoration. But proximity to the sea has also made the peninsula exposed to war, in particular since the Russian Tsar Peter the Great drew up plans in the 18th century for naval fortresses on either side of the Gulf of Finland to guarantee safety for his newly founded city, St. Petersburg. The only remaining building from Hangö Fortress is situated immediately behind the row of restaurants in the old warehouses of the eastern harbour. This grey stone building, built in 1792, is now the Hangö Museum, presenting special exhibitions throughout the year. In the second half of the 19th century, business developed rapidly. That maritime traffic was halted in the winter with the freezing of the sea was a problem, until it was realized that Hangö in southern Finland provided the most ice-free days in wintertime. In mild winters, the waters did not freeze at all. In order for a port to function fully, however, a railway was needed. When both port and railway were built, the town of Hangö was founded in 1874. The newly founded town soon became a popular spa resort and hosted many guests from Russia until 1917. Hangö Orthodox Church and the spa park remain from this time. At the end of the Winter War in 1940, Hangö was emptied and its inhabitants evacuated. The town was left in the hands of the Russians, who constructed a powerful air and naval base. The border was drawn up just east of Lappvik. 2 years later, the occupation ended and the area was returned. Memorials, pieces of artillery, and defense installations dating back to the war can still be found at various locations in the town. Exhibitions about the difficult war years can be seen at the Front Museum in Lappvik. There are many sites of interest in Hangö. At Lilla Tallholmen stands the House of the Four Winds, a cafe with a fascinating history, a tremendous view, and delicious food. 2 stately buildings tower over the centre of town: Hangö Church from 1892 and the Red Water Tower, rebuilt after World War II. On the outermost skerry of the archipelago, 25 kilometers southwest of Hangö, rises another superb stone building, Bengtkär Lighthouse. Built from the granite of the rocks on which it stands, it guided seafarers through the treacherous waters where the Baltic Sea meets the Gulf of Finland. At 52 meters, it is the highest lighthouse in the Nordic countries. Today, Bengtkär offers a wonderful mix of unique nature, exciting history, and a multitude of services. It is a world-class tourist attraction with Finland's first lighthouse museum, exhibitions, a chapel, and conference and accommodation facilities. The spa park and its wooden villas. Along the beach on the edge of Hangö town centre is the spa park with its beautiful villas. When Hangö was founded in 1874, an area for wooden villas, even at this very early stage, had already been reserved. The villas themselves were built up to 3 stories high and as grandly as possible, with towers, verandas and balconies. Hangö Spa was subsequently founded in 1879, boasting the Brunnshus restaurant, now Hangö Casino, an office building and a gymnastics studio, as well as separate ladies' and gentlemen's swimming halls. An asymmetrical English park was designed around the spa, with pavilions, kiosks, bowling facilities, a riding ring and even a lover's walk. Only the casino, the park restaurant, the little Mariograph building and remains of the quayside remain to this day. The villa culture spread across Finland in the 19th century, and villa areas grew up in Kaivopuisto in Helsinki and Ruissalo in Turku, among others. Well-heeled city people were eager to stay in the country during the summer. Villa Duris, completed in 1881, is one of the oldest villas in the park and now functions as a boarding house. In the 20th century, the villas were only occupied in the summer. The Villa Duris housekeeper recalls preparing the villa in May and affixing white tags in the windows of the various rooms. These were later removed as the rooms were hired out. Thick linen curtains were hung in open verandas to keep out the chilly evening air. Sandy paths were raked and edged with shells. Hangö Spa Park has 60 or so wooden villas built before the First World War. They are fine examples of the decorative wooden architecture combining various different styles, which held sway at the turn of the century. Some of the villas were designed as boarding houses from the outset, and from 1910 to 1920, when the spa was at the height of its popularity, nearly all the villas were rented out. The owners actually moved out. Even the mayor rented out his villa and spent the summer with acquaintances in a small beach house. The accommodation situation had previously been improved with the opening of the Bellevue Spa Hotel on the eastern side of the spa park in 1893. Hangö was a great favorite among Russian bathing guests who would often stay for half the summer or even see the whole season out. The villas were primarily used as sleeping quarters. They were equipped with a samovar perhaps, but meals were taken in the local restaurants. Hangö Spa was host to many famous guests over the years, including the Russian author Leo Tolstoy and the Finnish composer Jean Sibelius. Towards the end of the 19th century, the first bathing pavilion appeared on the beach, in which one might keep out of the sun. At that time, it was not suitable for a society woman to be suntanned. This might mislead people into thinking she undertook physical work. The first bathing huts were built after the First World War, when swimming in the sea became more customary, and a suntan began to be regarded as modern and a sign of good health. The badly damaged spa building was torn down after the war, but the villas are blossoming again. They have been repaired and restored. Most are inhabited throughout the year, while a few, such as Maja, Telina and Margita, still function as boarding houses. Spa life continued until the Winter War, which ended in the Soviet annexation of the Hangö area. After the war, the spa building and many of the other service buildings were in such poor repair that they had to be demolished. But Hangö's position as a summer resort was undiminished, and the spa park remains a uniquely well-preserved villa neighborhood, admired by countless visitors. Guided tours are arranged through the summer months. Further details are available from local tourist information offices. The House of the Four Winds. Not many summer restaurants can claim to have been in business for over 100 years and to have seen a future field marshal standing counting the day's takings. Where the beach promenade, which starts at Bellevue, crosses into Lilla Tallholmen or Little Pine Island, stands the House of the Four Winds. The history of the place is every bit as interesting as the view is tremendous and as the pastries are delicious. This famous cafe is situated on Lilla Tallholmen, about 3 kilometers from the town centre. Historically speaking, the cafe's most interesting owner was none other than Field Marshal Mannerheim. During Prohibition, 1919 to 32, when alcohol was forbidden in Finland, the cafe, then under the name of Café Africa, was famous for its so-called strong tea. The rather boisterous cafe guests disturbed Mannerheim, who owned a summer villa on the neighboring island, and for this reason he bought the cafe in 1927. Renaming it the House of the Four Winds, he relaunched it as a French country restaurant. Mannerheim even bought a tea service from France, part of which can still be seen in the Hangö Museum collection. Strong tea was no longer served. Instead you could find 5 o'clock tea, open sandwiches and heated snacks. The cafe boasted its own coffee blend and cake recipes. The story goes that staff at Mannerheim's summer villa Stormhällan used to ring a small bell when the general started out for his breakfast at the cafe, so that the chef would know when to start boiling his eggs. Mannerheim had his breakfast each morning at 9 o'clock at the same corner table. He always ordered the same thing: coffee, bread and butter, and an egg that had been cooked for precisely 4.5 minutes. Only when the general was finished was the cafe open to the public. Just before closing time, surprised bathing guests could see the general arrive to count the day's takings. When Mannerheim re-entered political life, first as chairman of the Defense Council and from 1933 as Field Marshal, he sold the business to Sea Captain John Ericsson. The new owner and his wife wished to preserve the cafe traditions introduced under Mannerheim, leaving the decor untouched and continuing to import the tea from England. From 1948 onwards, Lauri and Alice Tuominen made the House of the Four Winds a great success. Their famous strawberry tarts were keenly sought by many a post-war generation. The building is now owned by the city of Hangö, and although some reconstruction has taken place and the business is privately run, the atmosphere is remarkably well preserved.